In the right place, where we don't gatekeep any information regarding applying for your jobs in the NHS or employment relations law. If this is your first time here, thanks for coming and thanks for finding my video. I hope you'll be able to get the right insight into applying for your NHS jobs. And if you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back. I do appreciate your support. To everyone who is watching and yet to subscribe, what are you waiting for? Please let YouTube recommend my videos to other people that might find this content interesting and what they're actually looking for. Please don't forget to like, share, and of course, subscribe. Today's video is another interesting video I believe will be useful for you with regards to getting your next NHS role. In today's video, we'll be talking about interview questions for NHS Band 5 nurses. I will also be giving you the answers to these questions based on years of experience on sitting on an interview panel. These answers would be sample answers, so you know how best to structure your answers when you're sitting in front of that interview panel. It will ensure that you know the kind of things you need to start thinking about when you're preparing for your Band 5 interview. If this is something you're interested in, please stick around till the end of the video so that you can get all the information regarding those questions that I feel might come out during an interview for a Band 5 NHS nurse. Just so you're aware, I have been on interview panels where I have made decisions regarding the best people to be picked for a role based on answers they've given during those interviews. This is from recruiting people on different bands, from Band 2s to Band 8s. So trust when I tell you that the questions we'll be going through today will definitely come out in one shape or another during that Band 5 nurse interview. You need to use this video as a prep guideline for you to know how best to think for that Band 5 nurse interview so you can best candidate on the day. If you use this video, you will definitely see the difference in your interview and in the way you answer your questions when you're going for your interview as a Band 5 nurse. You need to be confident for you to be shortlisted for the interview. Your application form would have impressed the recruiting manager for you to be shortlisted for the role. So that's already half the battle won in securing your role in the NHS. If you prepare enough and you prepare properly, you would be successful during your interview. As this might be your first proper role since qualifying as the nurse, you need to appear confident, like the best candidate for the job, like you have the experience to be the one that is chosen on that day. It might be daunting based on the fact that you've been training all this while, but have faith in your training that you actually know what you're going to be doing in the role. So we are leaving the theory side and now doing the practical work. You wouldn't be left by yourself to do your work when you're just a newly qualified nurse. What kind of questions should you expect during your Band 5 interview? Questions would range from your experience, your understanding of NHS policies and procedures, your approach to patient care, scenario-based questions based on different aspects of your work, questions regarding safeguarding, teamwork. Those are kind of questions that you should be expecting during your interview. Scenario-based questions would be used to test your ability to know how you're going to perform in different scenarios that might arise during the course of your working day. These questions test your ability to think on your feet, your ability to work under pressure, ability to interpret how you would react during the day would be part of the questions that would be asked. Before we get into the questions, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. This does help my channel out in ensuring that YouTube does recommend my video. Most times, the first question that will be asked during your Band 5 nurse interview is, tell us about yourself. This question is usually an icebreaker just to make sure you're settled and you feel comfortable during the interview. What they really want to know is, why did you apply for the role? Tell us about yourself. Let us know a bit more. So as a newly minted qualified nurse, this will probably be your first proper role as a nurse. So they really want to know what drives you. Tell us why you applied for the role. what has not been written in the application form you want to put across to the manager. So you need to tell them about your short-term goals and your long-term goals. You want to explain to them the reason why you've applied for the job. If you can give an insight to yourself about your passion, about your values, you might want to relate it to your current role that you're doing now and how you want to transpose or transfer those skills that you've learned into the new role. There isn't a one-fits-all answer to this question. It's just about getting to know you a bit more. Things that you've not written down should be coming out when you've been given an opportunity to tell us a bit about yourself. You might want to talk about your experience as well from previous role as an HCA or other roles that you have actually done that might relate to this role. So it's a really open-ended question that gives you an opportunity to present yourself in the best light. It's just like selling yourself. So you're doing a sales pitch in answering this question. The second question in most cases that is always asked is, why have you applied for this role? What they're really asking you in this question is, have you read the job description? Do you feel that this is something that you'll be interested in doing? Have you read the person's specification? Are you the person that we actually feel would work best in this team? For you to have gotten to the interview stage, the manager already feels that you would fit into that team. It is now up to you to sell yourself to the manager and the interviewing panel. So what you're saying at this point is, tell us why you've applied for the role. I've read the job description. See if you can bring out 3 or 4 parts of the job description and explain how that part interests you. You need to show your passion for that role. If it's an organization you've not worked at previously, you need to show that you've actually read about the organization, looked on their website to see what their values are, and you are able to even talk about the values of the organization and your values, aligning them. It has to be about yourself because, like I said in my previous video, the NHS organization is one of those organizations that loves for you to bring your whole self into work. So you need to show that you are empathetic, you're willing to care, go above and beyond for people, because it's about showing that you are the right fit for that organization. You also need to talk about any innovations that organization is actually into. It shows that you've actually taken your time out to go and read up about the organization. You also need to talk about your strengths and weaknesses and bring it back into the question of, why do you want to work for this organization? I have a strength in this because the role that I'll be doing is this. So my strengths lie in this. I want to be able to continue this. So you need to ensure that you are saying how best you fit that role that you've applied for. The third question might be around the core values that guide the nursing practice in the NHS. So what they're really asking you is, what are the 6 C's of nursing? So you need to be able to list it out to them. The 6 C's are care, commitment, compassion, communication, courage, and competence. Those are the 6 C's of nursing. When you list out this, I would suggest you try to explain how these 6 C's would come into practice when you're working. So you can take out at least 2 of them and talk about it in a way that it relates to the role that you're going to be doing. So highlighting how your values and the core values of the NHS work together and how you're going to bring that into the role that you're going to be doing. The fourth question that might likely come out during an interview is, what do you understand about confidentiality? Confidentiality is a very big thing with the NHS because it's all about safeguarding. I would start off with explaining what I believe confidentiality is. Confidentiality is a fundamental principle in the NHS that requires the NHS staff to safeguard, protect sensitive information about colleagues and patients. Confidentiality is crucial to build trust among patients, colleagues, complying with ethical and legal standards, and protecting sensitive information. When you've given the definition of what confidentiality is, then I would suggest that you give a scenario-based answer where you've been able to ensure that you've kept confidentiality. So it might be a situation where you were given an information and you had to ensure that the right people are the only one that get to hear about that information, even though other people might ask you. So for example, an information about a patient's condition, family members that don't have a right to know about the condition might come up to you to ask you about that information. You would explain how you refuse to divulge that information and ensure that you kept the confidentiality of that patient secure by not giving the information to the people that shouldn't have access to that information. This gives you a more robust answer because that is a scenario of what you've experienced and how you've been able to keep confidentiality. I would suggest that you think about other scenarios that might have come up while you're working and have all the scenarios at the back of your mind when you're going in for the interview. A sample fifth question that might likely come out during your Band 5 interview is, have you been involved in a conflict and how did you resolve it? This is another way to test your management skills, your communications, conflict resolution skills. So this question is really trying to gauge how you will react during a situation like this. Although you might not have been involved in a situation like this, there might have been situations of conflict that might have happened while you were on ward. And if you don't have any word-like example or scenario to give, you might also take it from your personal life of how you resolve conflict. Give a realistic example of how you would manage conflict. This is just showing them how to know the kind of person you are. So I would suggest you give a scenario-based answer for this question. So you start from what happened, what measures were taken, and how it was resolved. It's like a STAR method to explain this question. I would also suggest that you look for methodologies or ways of how you were able to use conflict resolution techniques to resolve that issue. The sixth question that might come out during your Band 5 interview is, how do you look after a patient with complex care needs? This is just trying to assess your teamwork. That is what they're really asking you about, is working together as a team. So you need to explain how you've worked together successfully as a team, especially in a nursing environment. So you need to explain working alongside other departments, other teams, from the consultant to the healthcare assistant, to ensure the care of that patient is complete. From you doing your own part, you speaking to other people to ensure that the care of that patient is the paramount thing. So you're not looking at it as just me looking after this patient, but the rest of the teams working together cohesively to ensure that patient gets better as quickly as possible. So you would also need to give a scenario of working with a multidisciplinary team. You would need to explain all the strategies that you've used to ensure the patient is looked after properly. If there is disagreement, you will need to be able to explain how conflict resolution and communication was able to be used to ensure that the patient needs are at the forefront of what is being done. Talk about the collaborative efforts that happened on that day, how you were all able to then work together to resolve whatever conflict you had. The seventh question that might come out during a Band 5 interview is, tell us about a near-miss incident and how you handled it. What this question is really asking you is your communication skills, your competence, and your reporting skill. You need to be able to explain what a near miss. This is something that could have happened but was luckily prevented from happening. So this incident could have caused fatality or could have caused injury to the patient or even the employee themselves. So you need to be able to explain what you've done to avoid this near miss, or what you've done when this near miss happened and how you handled that situation. So you need to be able to show how you're going to day text, how you're going to communicate with people, what has happened, how you're going to show your competence to ensure that that doesn't happen. They're following the rules, they're following the policies, and ensuring that when those things even happen, you're filling the right forms to document near misses. Documentation is very important, especially when near misses happen, because this prevents other people from making such a mistake, and is also a learning curve for that department and yourself if you're not reporting, we're not able to find out. It is worse when you don't report things and it's later found out. You can be facing a disciplinary. Even though that thing did not happen, you will be facing a disciplinary for not actually reporting. So one of the most vital things that they want to hear during this question is your reporting, your communication, and ensuring that your competence is showing properly when answering this question. You don't have to have been involved in a near miss, but a near miss could have happened at your work. It happens almost every day. There's always data to prove this, that things happen. You just need to ensure that it is being reported properly. I hope you've been able to learn a lot with the questions and answers that I've given today based on real life examples of questions that have been asked during a Band 5 nurse interview. There are no perfect answers to the questions that have been asked on the day. You need to ensure that your answers are always in line with the values of that organization, always in line with your 6 core values of principles of nursing, which is the commitment, the competence, communication, courage, compassion, and care. Ensure that these core values are always in the answers that you're giving. This shows that you are actually thinking of the nurse that you want to be and thinking of the patient as the core part of the work that you're going to be doing. So if you have these core principles of nursing at the back of your mind when you're answering these questions, it would definitely help tailor your answers to ensure that you're answering in the best way possible and showing yourself as an empathetic nurse to understanding the needs of your patients. Thank you so much for staying to the end. I really appreciate you watching this video. And if you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. This definitely helps me out. And I would also want you to share to your colleagues that you feel will be going for interviews that might need this prep as part of their interview prep. Until next time, where I'll be bringing you more insight into the NHS and how best to answer questions. If you do have any questions and you want me to answer them, please leave your comments in the comment section and I'll be happy to answer them. Until next time, take care. Bye.